What's up everybody? Dan here with Dan and Sarah Makers, and I am bringing you a video that may be long awaited by a lot of people, but it is a wrap-up of the hammer series. So in this video we are going to do a quasi-scientific, not scientific, comparison of the nail pulling strength or ability of each one of these hammers compared to each other. So it's going to be a little bit scientific, but we're not going to get too deep in the weeds. It'll give us enough of an apples to apples comparison of how well these hammers can actually physically transfer your arm force into pulling a nail. So we are going to do it simple. We're going to do it as uniformly as possible, and that'll give us kind of a comparison of this hammer can exert, 500 pounds of force with the same input energy as this one where it does 600 pounds. So we're going to do that, and then we're also going to, or I will, put up some information on the hammers, the advertised head weight, not strength, sorry, the overall weight, the cost, at least the current cost in probably US dollars, and then I'll do a quick kind of review at the very end of what I think would be the best hammer for a budget and the best hammer for who cares how much it costs kind of review. So I've got a really simple jig here. I'm going to take a hammer. I am going to put it on this nail. I have a center line for where the nail is on the board. I have a piece of tape so if I get too many marks I can replace it. And I'm going to make a mark where the hammer actually touches the wood. So I'll measure that distance, I'll measure the overall length of the hammer handle, and then I'll imagine if I put the same amount of force on the very tip of this hammer handle, going that way at a right angle, how much this force transmits or converts into force pulling straight up on the nail. Like I said, we're not going to get too deep into the woods with angles off of square, so we're not dealing with sine, cosine, things like that when we're dealing with moments and rotation and where the hammer actually contacts the wood as it moves out and gives you different amounts of leverage and static friction and moving friction, things like that. So that should give us a pretty good example, comparison, baseline. I'll write this information down, and yes, I'm going to use metric in this because if you've ever tried to do any calculations in statics or dynamics or physics where you use feet and inches and fractions of an inch and convert those, very difficult. We're going to use an input energy of, I figure if you're really pulling on a nail, you should be able to exert maybe close to 100 pounds of force, like a 100-pound weight sitting on this. We'll convert that into newtons. Again, it's easier, and then we'll convert it back to pounds. I'll input all of this information into an Excel spreadsheet. I'll write a simple equation so that it just spits out the result I want. So let's get to it. As you've seen, we went through, we put all the hammers on the same, basically the nail. I put every hammer claw on the nail as far as it would go, and then pulled it up because the nail is extending out of the wood the same height, and basically measured from the rotation point where the hammer was touching the wood to where the nail was. So basically that gave us our lever distance. Tried to do it all as fairly as I could. Get the real numbers, run the math. I've got my computer over here with the spreadsheet where I popped out all the numbers and information. The interesting thing is that some of the most expensive hammers aren't necessarily the most powerful when it comes to pulling nails. So for the pulling force in just the conventional style of hammer, the one that's been around for a long time before we started getting into the side pulling, the most powerful hammer, believe it or not, is this Vaughan hammer. So this is just a simple fiberglass handled hammer, 20 ounce, and it's got more of a conventional curve on it and a rather long handle. That's what gives this hammer kind of the advantage. The distance between the initial pivot point and where the nail engages. So this one was pulling at 930 pounds with 100 pounds of input force. The worst or lowest pulling force that we got out of this group is the Deluge. And part of the reason for that is it's got a very short claw, which means the nail sits way back here, and it's got a very, very flat head, which puts the initial pivot point the furthest away from where the nail engages. So you've got a really long arm here and a relatively short handle. So this, believe it or not, does the worst at 346.8 pounds of pulling force in our initial test setup. As far as side pulling, our newer hammers that have the side pull on them, the best was our Heart hammer, which is a very inexpensive hammer. It actually came out at 2,885 pounds, so almost 1.5 tons of pulling force when you've got this side puller. So that's pretty impressive. That's a lot of force you can exert on that. Almost a 28 time, almost 29 time multiplication of force. As far as the least powerful, it's kind of unfortunate because I'm a little bit of a fanboy on this one, but the Martinez actually came in the lowest force multiplication when you use this side puller. And that came in at 1,663.93, so 664 pounds of pulling force. Still a lot of force, but lowest of the 5 we did. The other 3 all came in at right around 1981, and 1969. So about 1 ton apiece, more or less, by just a few pounds. As far as weight, our heaviest hammer is, again, the Heart hammer. This is the most heavy hammer, and part of it is it's all steel, and it has rather wide cheeks. It's got this side hammering face, which none of the other hammers have, and it also has a nail puller. So it's a beefy hammer. So that came in at overall weight 37 ounces, even though it's got a 21 ounce listed head. The lightest hammer that we had is the Deluge, and this is a 16 ounce head with a 22.6 ounce overall weight. Obviously with wood handles, that's going to vary a little bit. The most expensive hammer that we got, not a shocker, is a Martinez. At current US price is about $230. So this is our most expensive. And our least expensive, drum roll, is the Heart. So this one's coming in at $25.97, so 26 bucks. So, which is really odd because I picked up 2 hammers quite a few times, and as far as my opinion of these hammers, all the different hammers here, I haven't used some of these hammers specifically in the past a lot. Like this hammer, I haven't used it much at all, but I've used S-wing hammers in the past, and so I have kind of a feel for them. But of the hammers here, if you're just getting into construction and carpentry, there's one hammer I would probably recommend, and if you really don't care about money, there's another hammer I would recommend. So as far as a entry-level hammer, I actually really like this Hart. It's inexpensive, it's a little bit heavy, but the features and benefits and just the overall ease of use, I don't know, the features, the feel of it, I actually like it. So this is a really good, in my opinion, entry-level hammer. As far as money's no option, I also really like the Martinez. Even though it does not come out on top of the list every single time, I still really like the feel of it. It's a comfortable, nice hammer to use. It's got the replaceable head, which outshines kind of the old stiletto. So I like that feature. But yeah, as far as other hammers, the DeWalt, this one seems to be a really popular one. Unfortunately, I've seen these claws on the end bent. One claw bent up, one claw bent down, kind of like that. I've seen them broken at the handle. So these aren't as durable as I would expect them to be, but they still are quite a popular hammer, and they're not too expensive. So yeah, I guess that's about it for the hammer review. We got our two kind of top dogs, the Hart and the Martinez, in my opinion. They're both metal shank. They're both fairly similar. They both have red plastic end caps with black cushy grip handles, and they're very similar kind of in look. So I guess that would just about do it. So as we're sitting around at home, all of us, either in the United States or worldwide, as we have more time on our hands, remember to like, subscribe, share, comment on these videos. That really helps us, especially now. And you know, like we like to say, get out there and do something right now. Stay home, learn things, work on projects, make yourself better at what you do, and try and stay safe. So until next time, this is Dan. Have a good one. Bye.